Good evening, hello yellows, and welcome to this week's TNC Oppo preview. And it's live, as they say. Last time out, it was an expected 2-0 loss away to West Ham. Up next, it's time to see whether we've got what it takes to beat the Rafa Benitez-led Everton, and who better to give us all the latest Everton insights than huge Everton fan and fellow content creator Thomas Robertson of the Toffee Blues. Good evening, Thomas. How are you? Thank you for chatting to us. And what is the mood like around Goodison Park right now?
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me on. It's always good to talk when you're around in the league anyway, at least. The mood at Goodison couldn't be much worse, to be honest. I think it's quite obvious that we're not a fan of the manager, not a fan of several of the players, not a fan of the board. I'm struggling to think of a time where the atmosphere is being quite as bad as it is. Seeing people comparing it to when we had Roberto Martinez a few years ago, but I think it's probably just past that at this point. It's very toxic. I mean, Andros Townsend started to come out today, or I saw an article claiming he doesn't like how toxic it is. But I mean, I don't think anyone can really blame us the situation that we find ourselves in. But yeah, it's maybe the worst that I've ever experienced in terms of a Goodison Park.
There could be some similarities and perhaps some parallels between how the fan bases are feeling at the moment, which we will open up and talk more about as time goes on, particularly what you say around Rafa and the board, etc. There's definitely some parallels there. I am going to just quickly spend some time saying good evening to our viewers, as I always do, Thomas, before we get on with it. We've got James R joining us on YouTube. They say OTBC, our next two games are absolutely massive. Well, of course, 100% agreed with that. Matt Swed's in the house, buzzing for this weekend. Wow, buzzing for this weekend. I think you might be the only Norwich fan actually excited for the weekend. Anyway, if only we still had Lord Srebeni. Of course, the icon himself did score against Everton at Goodison and gave it the salute celebration to silence the fans at Everton. Easy shithouse win. Not sure I agree with that, Matt. A Newcastle fan is in the house. Not sure why, but hello, Liam. Thank you for watching as always. Really appreciate it. Alex in it. Love that name. They say, come on, City. Oi, oi, says Luke. Loads of support in the house already, which is absolutely brilliant. Oh, Declan's here to support you. He says, don't worry, Thomas, you'll get the 3 points. There you go.
Well, I'm glad he's confident. I maybe don't share that ambition in the same way.
So speaking of confidence, Thomas, let's talk about your last game, because I'm intrigued to ask whether you think that your boys will gain confidence from that. Of course, a 3-2 win for you away at the very glamorous culture capital of the UK, Hull. A 3-2 win. Will any of that sort of affect the way that you set up against Norwich, your victory at Hull, or will we see something completely different at Carrow Road?
Well, I think it's always difficult to take confidence scraping past Hull City in the FA Cup in extra time, to be honest. If I was a player, I would be particularly delighted with that performance. Obviously, Hull, I was talking to a Hull fan just last week. I didn't think they're kind of bottom of the championship these days, looking to try and stay up. I mean, honestly, the fact that we only managed to beat them 3-2, the fact that they scored twice and were on top for the first 10 or 15 minutes is just... I don't see how any confidence comes from that. But in terms of a setup, really, for some bizarre reason, Rafa seems to be sticking with this kind of 5 at the back system of an assortment of fullbacks, really. We've played 2 right backs, a couple of left backs. It's very confusing. It doesn't work, to be honest. We're sticking with the 2 in midfield. That doesn't work either. And Decore actually interestingly came out the other day, did an interview saying he maybe doesn't agree with the 2 in the midfield system. That's now been suppressed by the club. An article was released today on Twitter. All of a sudden, he's changed his mind. He actually loves playing in a 2 because Rafa's now explained it to him. So a couple of weird kind of things going on at the club at the moment. But look, in terms of the last match, I can't see anyone taking any confidence, particularly from it. It's something to put behind us into the next round, I guess. And if we stick with the system that we have been playing against Brighton and Hull, which I can't see why a 3-2 loss to Brighton and then scraping past Hull, I'm not sure why that suggests that the system works. But if we do stick with it, it could be a very interesting match come the weekend.
Thomas, I've mainly been complimenting opposition fans on our show that we've been doing every week this season, because obviously they've been better than us already, and we've been so bad. But I have to be brutally honest. I know that we've been bad, but I would definitely put Everton in the sort of cluster of clubs that I think have been turgid this season. Absolutely turgid. I mean, I look at Burnley, I look at Everton, Leeds, obviously Newcastle have been bad. We have been bad, admittedly. And it's surprised. And you speak about your midfield. That's what surprised me, Thomas. When we went to Goodison, I know that you had some injuries, but you were so beatable. And it stuns me that Everton are in a place where I'm confident about going to Goodison Park. Like that should be a big worry for you, shouldn't it?
I mean, it is massively. It's been the same for every team that's been coming recently, or any team we've come up against anywhere in the country. To be honest, it's the atmosphere, as I mentioned at the start, it's contributed not very well on the pitch. But I don't blame the fans. Obviously, we get our comments about the boos at Goodison Park, but it's completely justified. And basically, if you get on top of us, the atmosphere will turn nasty very, very quickly. Because when Rafa was brought in, I said at the time, I'm not happy with the appointment, but if he starts winning games, maybe pushes on in a trophy, can't argue with it. But that was an absolute must. He needed success. He needed to do well on the pitch. He didn't need to alienate the fans. We've just sold Lucas Digne to Villa, fan favourite. He was basically forced out. Well, we don't know everything behind the scenes, but it seems like he was forcibly removed. And it's just, I mean, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And any team that comes to Goodison Park at the moment know they can get a result because the fans are just absolutely disillusioned with everything that's going on. But it is concerning, no offence to yourselves, it is concerning that you are confident coming to Goodison Park, considering, the past couple of seasons that you've had in the Premier League. But I don't blame you at all.
Thomas, don't worry. You're totally entitled to come on this podcast and slag us off. You don't need to worry about that. And I was going to ask you about Lucas, but I'll leave Lucas to one side for a minute. I want to ask you about the Everton fans. So you've said that it could get toxic and the crowd can turn at Goodison. What's the away support like for Everton? Are they the type of fans that, again, might be silenced if Norwich have a good start?
Exactly that. I mean, there's a great clip, really, of, I can't remember what match it was, maybe the Brentford match, just abuse just being thrown at the players, to be honest, because it's just an embarrassing, it's just constantly embarrassing performances. So wherever the fans are, no one's happy with what's going on. So, look, I've nothing but respect for the fans that go to these away games and constantly go to them, because, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason why anyone should want to put up with these performances, but they do. We sell out every away end. It's absolutely phenomenal. But I don't blame them if it gets quiet as well, because honestly, I say the phrase "can't blame them" quite a lot, and I've already said it, I feel, about 10 times, but it's because I can't. We're in such a disappointing position now at this point in the season that I just take my hat off to any fan that goes to any away match supporting them.
And speak about disappointing. Losing Lucas Digne, that's a massive loss for Everton. He was in my fantasy Premier League team at one stage, which isn't that much of a compliment because I'm absolutely shite at that. But he's a key player and seems like, from the outside looking in, is one of those influential characters. Just how concerned are you, particularly going to this game at the weekend, Thomas? Because is that going to impact the other players? Seeing a key player like Lucas being sold to arguably a club that you're in the same sort of mini league in the Premier League.
Well, I think it's shocking, to be honest. He's worn the captain's armband a couple of times. He was clearly a major leader. He's a fan's favourite. He signed a new contract last year. It's unbelievable to think. I think it was in February of 2021 he signed the contract. He was obviously sold this Carlo Ancelotti loads of money new stadium project, which is just disintegrated in front of our eyes. But it is concerning. Look, he hasn't been involved for quite a while now, so I'm thinking it won't massively impact the players kind of instantly, because this has been going on for quite a few weeks now, and it was clear that he was going to leave eventually. I'm not happy about it. I've seen a couple of fans saying, look, he's pushing 30 now. We've made a profit on him. Everyone's just trying to find the good side, to be honest. He's a quality player. He's our most creative player. We're going to miss him. Look, we've signed a new left back, young left back from Ukraine, Mikalenko. I'm sure we'll all get behind him, but it's kind of just a baptism of fire because we have no other left back as well. So he's just going to be thrown straight into it. And if he doesn't perform straight away, I mean, I feel bad for him because he's all of a sudden, the spotlight is now on that position in our squad. If he joined, he was phased into the side, he wouldn't have as much attention on him. But at the end of the day, you sell fan favourite, most creative player, occasionally the captain in your position, you have to replace him. I mean, I don't know what he does, to be honest, but yeah, it does seriously hurt. And it just sums up where we are as a club and the direction we're going in at the moment.
Thomas, you are really making me rub my hands together, I must admit. It's nice for a fan to come on a podcast and be negative. A, because I want someone else to be negative because I'm being negative at the moment, but also because it's nice to hear another club that are also suffering. Let's quickly go to the comment section. Loads of you have joined us. Thank you so much for jumping in, and do give this a like if you're watching on YouTube and share on social media. Of course, you can get involved in the conversation by tagging us at Talk Norwich City. Make sure you go and give Thomas and the Everton News Feed a follow on Twitter too. Blythe View, what a profile picture that is, by the way. Very stylish number. They say stinks of a 3-pointer. Goodness gracious me, I'll certainly take. I'll probably take.
I think it stinks more of a 6-pointer at this point. I think we're in a relegation battle here.
You know what? Blimey, very, very good point, Thomas. I didn't think about that at all. Liam, the Newcastle fan, he says, I think it will come down to the last game of the season. Very interesting, very interesting. Susanna George is in the house, friend of the channel. Good evening to you, Susanna. Thank you so much for your support this season. She says, can't wait to see Godfrey back at Carrow Road and how Max deals with him. We will be talking about Ben Godfrey in just a short moment, Susanna. Don't you worry. Hello, this is a stat. Christopher Trotter is in the house with an absolute banger. Dean Smith has never lost to Everton. Can someone fact check that? I'm taking your word for it, Christopher. Does that scare you, Thomas?
I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, we just had a shocking record against Villa, to be honest. So I think that was part of our problem. But we'll have to see. I'm not sure how much of it's Dean Smith and how much of it is just our terrible record against them. But I mean, I don't know if that's true. It sounds true enough, to be honest. So we'll have to see.
Clutching at straws. I'm clutching at straws. I'll certainly take that. Thomas, I really want to move on now to whether you think Norwich can actually hurt Everton. Where are the gaps? Where are the spaces? Who are the players that we should be targeting? Say everything now. Let us know. Dean Smith will be watching, I'm sure. Fill Dino in. How does he beat Everton on Saturday at Carrow Road?
Putting a good set piece is basically the main one. We can't seem to defend them to save our lives. I think we've conceded 12 or something this season. I'm not sure if that stat is entirely accurate. Maybe we should have looked that up before. But look, our set piece record is shambolic at the moment. There's no organisation in that defence at the best of times. So that is one that is kind of immediately jumps out. But one that I'd probably note as well is the two in the midfield. If we stick with that, you stick 3 bodies in there, they're just being overrun at the moment because, well, an extra man, and you've got to. Well, I'm not sure if Matthias Norman's back fit, actually, but I'm sure, I wanted to bring him up later. He's not back fit. That makes me feel slightly better because if you go man-to-man in the midfield and you have that extra player to kind of provide that creativity, then we are getting hurt. It happened with McAllister against Brighton. The midfield's overrun and then there's just a spare man and we just get hurt by them. So
Thomas,
if we do stick with this 2-man midfield, he can hurt us anywhere, to be honest.
Mate, what if I tell you that our midfield is currently absolutely non-existent? How does that make you feel?
Maybe it just come down to a battle of the numbers. Maybe it's just whoever's got the most in there. It doesn't have to be quality football. It's just who's got the most men, and we'll sort it that way.
Oh dear, I really am really interested to see how this game pans out. Craig goes in the house. Absolute legend, and my brother-in-law as well. Go and give him a follow on Twitter. Good old Craig, kill it. He says, I'll just take a goal on Saturday. Wow. I mean, do you know what, Craig? I think that might be where we're at now. We need to see a goal. We need to see better defending. We need to see the basics, that's for sure. Thomas, let's get some intel on Everton. Who are the players that you're expecting to see some good stuff from at Carrow Road, if any, on Saturday? Are there any Everton players in form that you think could hurt Norwich City?
Damari Gray is a man that you've probably seen highlights of this season. He seems to have actually, he's bounced around, hasn't he, between Leicester, by Leverkusen, didn't quite hit the heights there, but he's come here and he's doing excellently. He's easily our most creative player now, and he seems to have maybe finally, he dipped through a bit of form after the start of the year, but he got that goal against Arsenal, scored against Hull with a great bit of play. So he's one man. Anthony Gordon is the second man, academy player. we've been waiting years for him to finally get into the team. Looks like he's getting it. He scored twice against Brighton, his first 2 goals. Sadly, it's probably not the way that he wanted to score them, but he's in form as well.
What position is he?
I think he's a winger.
Okay.
Basically, him and Gray on the wings are our most deadly prospects at the moment. So we're all very excited about Anthony Gordon. He is a bright spark in what is very, very dismal football. So it's unsurprising how excited we all are. But I mean, everyone loves to see it anyway. An academy player coming through, and he seems to be fulfilling his potential, and he gives it his most every game, which you'd think is a given for a professional footballer. It's clearly not. But look, Anthony Gordon and Demarai Gray are probably our 2 players that I'd say you should be slightly concerned about.
Great shouts, and I am concerned, particularly by Demarai Gray. I actually believe that he's one of the signings of the season, considering the value that you paid for him. I know that's a big shout, but I do believe it, and I think it's a hell of a signing for Everton. And let's face it, you'll do well to keep him in the summer if you continue in the way that you are. And just a quick shout out to the viewers. Thanks so much for watching. If you are enjoying it so far, do give it a like on YouTube and engage with us on social media. If you've got any questions for Thomas whilst we're live, get them in. If you can, post a comment and I'll get them up on screen as we go. Thomas, there is a player in particular that I really want to talk about on this show, and Susanna George brought him up earlier. Let's talk about Ben Godfrey, of course, a former Canary, now donning the blue and white, which we never like to see. What have you made of his time so far at Everton, and what have you made of his recent form? I'm really interested to pick your brains on all things Ben Godfrey.
Well, last season he was a revelation, to be honest. We had a great summer. We signed Allen, James Rodriguez, Decore, and then he just kind of snuck in at the end of the domestic window. Obviously, there was that extension, so it wasn't really someone that, we'd really discussed much. No one really knew he was coming. Then he arrived, and he was absolutely fantastic. He won Young Player of the Season last year. He plays in various positions across the back line. We've seen him more often than not a fullback because we've had a lot of fullback injuries and not a lot of replacements. He hasn't quite cemented his starting position. It is a centre half. He will be a centre half going forwards. And I can't remember the exact fee. Was it 25, 30 million, something like that? But it seemed like a bargain last season, and it still does seem like a bargain, to be honest. It sounded quite negative there, but I don't think he's being helped by the lack of defensive organisation at the moment. I think Puyol could come into this side and look like he's struggling because we just have nothing going for us at the back, to be honest. It's ridiculous considering Rafa Benitez is our manager. The one thing you probably think of straight away is defensive organisation, and we're far from it. Look, he's got a very bright future. I'm absolutely delighted we signed him. No, as I mentioned, no defender looks great in this defence because they're just all over the shop. They're playing different lines. I've got no idea what's going on. But he proved last season under a quality manager who can organise a defence, that he does have so much talent. And obviously, I mentioned Young Player of the Season. I mean, he could have won Player of the Season if Calvert-Lewin wasn't so fantastic for us, to be honest. So, Godfrey it was a great move, kind of came out of nowhere, very happy with it. And he'll be in the side, hopefully, for years to come.
I've really flip-flopped my opinion on him. Well, I flip-flop my opinions all the time, to be honest with you, but particularly on Ben Godfrey, Thomas, because when we sold him to Everton for the money that we sold him at, considering the players that I thought we had to help us at the time, I was like, you know what, good business. I'm happy with that. And although he'll come right, I don't think he was ready. However, that first season for Everton, Ben Godfrey was immense for Everton, absolutely immense. But then I've now changed my mind again. I'm looking at him this season and I'm seeing the same problems that I saw with him at Norwich. Positioning, not winning his aerial duels. So maybe I'm back in the Ben Godfrey is a bit meh camp. I don't know, but certainly a player for the future and a good bit of business for both clubs. I feel indeed, for sure. There are some questions for you actually, Thomas. So I'm going to get that up on screen. Luke, first of all, Luke Sayre on YouTube. Good evening to you, Luke. He says, "Who do you want to replace Digne?" Go.
Well, we've already Digne. I don't know. I can never decide either. Well, we've already replaced him. Young player called Vitaly Mikalenko. He featured for Ukraine at the Euros. He looked quite good. He's not a complete player by any means. He's very young.
Yeah,
he's obviously new to the Premier League, so we've already replaced him, but we haven't actually seen a lot from him. He did play against Hull, and everyone looked rubbish, so it was a difficult one to analyse. But yeah, we have technically already replaced him. we'll see how it goes.
Okay, and we've got George Miller on YouTube who's asking you, does Dominic Calvert-Lewin deserve a England call-up?
I think he always does, but I can't actually remember the last time he played. He's been injured for a very long time. He wasn't risked against Hull just because we need to get him back to full fitness. I think when he's in form, of course, he deserves an England call-up. He fully deserves being at the Euros in the summer, but I mean, you can't call up a player who hasn't played for months, to be honest. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get into the March fixtures or whatever they are. Well, maybe he's actually got a few games before then, but generally, yes. But I mean, he hasn't played basically all season, so it's hard to say.
There you go. There's all things DCL, and Liam is bringing up Rafa Benitez. He says Rafa's like Mourinho, who is past his best. What's your take on that, Thomas?
I think it's a disgrace to compare Rafa to Mourinho, to be honest. I mean, Jose is just obviously a much better manager. He's achieved much more. I see what he means as past his best.
Yeah.
I think Benitez's best was very short-lived. Looking back on it, he had a good time at Liverpool. I won't mention that one. He had a nice time at Newcastle, but I mean, obviously they adored him because he stood up to the board.
Yeah,
he brought hope or whatever. Obviously, they don't need a manager to bring that hope anymore. But look, I don't think you can compare them at all. Mourinho, much more successful, won much more, past his best. Yes, but yeah. I mean, I can't see much comparison between them.
And that leads me nicely on to my next question, Thomas, which I really wanted to ask you about Rafa Benitez. But also where you think your club will be come the end of this season and in 3 seasons' time. Surely Rafa Benitez isn't going to keep his job beyond this season.
Very tricky to say at the moment. And I won't go into all the details because we could sit here and talk forever, but there's a lot of board upheaval at the moment. Goodison, we lost our director of football, a lot of the kind of scouting and recruitment, they've all left. It seems like there's allegedly a strategic review going on. I don't really know what that means, to be honest. There's a lot of kind of marking your own homework going on because they're all executive directors, so there's no one really accountable. So at the moment, I can see him staying purely because I don't really know who else would be in charge, because he's basically been given the keys to do whatever he likes. He's signed the players he wants. Between him and the owner, who should have no impact on who we're signing on the pitch, but he does. He has a lot of impact. It's why we're signing El Ghazi from Villa, apparently. But it's really tricky to say because he shouldn't be. We've had some of the worst form in England, never mind just in the Premier League. But it seems like the owner's not listening and he won't be sacked. So it's unbelievable. It's very hard to predict.
It's going to be fascinating to see it all unravel itself. And obviously, you've got the new stadium coming up, which you must be really excited about. But yeah, at the same time, I think it's odd. And do you know what? I'm going to make a bit of a shout here. I don't think Rafa Benitez at Newcastle is over. I don't. I think he built up such a bond with their supporters that I could actually see him going back there. I don't think Eddie Howe is the man. I just got this really strange feeling that Rafa Benitez might end up there. And speaking of managers, let's move on to another manager now, which I'm sure is a man which will make your blood boil. Carlo Ancelotti. If I was you, I would be putting up wanted posters across the country, in Spain, across Europe. I would be furious because I can't imagine how mugged off you must have felt from Carlo Ancelotti.
At the time, definitely. Look, he came in, he was on a massive wage. We'd given him all the money he wants. He could sign who he liked. Brought in James Rodriguez, who was obviously the key factor in that. Look, at the time I was fuming because he'd signed up to this project. He'd said all season, I'm never going back to Real Madrid. I disagree with the Super League. That's never happening. Everton is my club. And then he left. That was annoying. Very frustrating. I'm still frustrated, but now there's more light that's been shed on the just disgrace, the way that the club is ran. I don't blame him at all. I mean, obviously you can't. They're not blaming him because he's gone back to Real Madrid. It's his club. At the end of the day, he's fine. He should finally win the title there. But I don't blame. I say don't blame him a lot because I have to throw that phrase around at Everton at the moment because it's such a shambles that it's just. I don't know what to say really. At the time, I was fuming. Now we know a lot more about the chaos that's going on. I would have left as well, to be honest, and especially if Real Madrid had come calling.
you sound defeated, which is almost a similar emotion to what a lot of Norwich fans are already feeling, almost resigned to where you're at. Do you feel resigned to this season, Thomas? Is it just a complete write-off for you now?
I think resigned is a solid word to use. It's just, I can't see us going anywhere. I don't think we'll get relegated. But look, I think we're going to be down the bottom half of the table. There's nothing to do. We're not going to win the cup. We're not going to do anything. As soon as we come up against decent opposition there, it's horrible to talk about or watch Everton or have any association with Everton at the moment, because it's just every part of the club is a shambles at the moment. So
you know what? I think I might need to start a regular feature with you every week. I'll get you to come on to share loads of negativity about Everton to make Norwich fans feel better. And speaking of us, what is your honest, brutal opinion about Norwich City this season?
I don't know. I'm quite mixed, because I think you've given it, in theory, a better go than last time. I know there was a lot said last time that you hadn't made the signings. You always knew you'd go back down. Obviously, you made a lot more signings this year, but Farke, fantastic championship manager, out of his depth in the Premier League at the end of the day. And like, I can see why he was given the benefit of the doubt. He was kept on maybe longer than other managers was, because, well, have you come up twice with 90 points now, 90 plus points? It's just, of course, he's doing something right. It's just clearly maybe not cut out for the Premier League. Maybe there's a reason he's now at Krasnodar, is it? I wasn't expecting to see him turn up there, but maybe there's a reason that clubs in England don't want him. Maybe he just wants to change the scenery. I've got no idea. But look, I think you'll go back down again. You've obviously made signings this year. Not all the right signings. I think some of them maybe not fantastic deals, but it's difficult to say, because look, because it sounds patronising when I say, you've given it a better go. I think everyone kind of says that though about Norwich, because obviously last time you were up, it was just same team as the Championship, just going to go back down. It seemed fun, but like now it's like you've come up again, you've walked the Championship again, you're not great again, you look like you might go down again. I think it's a tricky one, because the club, given the time to Daniel Farke, he'd obviously earned it. It was obviously his time to go, but the fact that he had it in that time and he was given so much time has maybe ruined the rest of his season.
I do. Yeah, I agree with a lot of that, Thomas, and I appreciate some of the nice words as well. I think you sum up the Daniel Farke situation very well. Ran out of road at Norwich. I do feel very sorry for Dean Smith now, who finds himself in a position where he can't sign his own players. So he's got this sort of bargain bucket basement of just random players that he's trying to experiment with formations to get something out of. And it's really, really tough for him. And I do actually think that the damage is already done. I think that's where we're at now, and it is going to take the biggest Premier League miracle for us to stay up. It really is. So I appreciate your kind and frank opinions on it. And Thomas, I always ask this question on all of these Oppo lives. If you had, not that you want to, but well, maybe you do, because we've served you well with Ben Godfrey. If you had to sign a player for Everton in this window from Norwich, who would it be and why?
It's a tricky one, to be honest, because if you asked me 2 years ago, I would have said Max Aarons, because all the Premier League clubs seem to be looking at him. I don't think he's done as well since. I can't say I've watched a tremendous amount of Norwich games, but I don't think he's done as well since. Obviously, those links are kind of dried up. We've signed a new right back, Nathan Patterson from Rangers, so we seem to have that position sorted now, but we've needed a Coleman replacement for years. It wasn't happening. Max Aarons was the natural link, to be honest. And then I was doing a bit of research on this as well, because Matthias Norman was a player that I thought, he's an exciting player, but he's on loan, isn't he? So he's not even technically your signing, and that's what I didn't realise. I thought you'd signed him because because I don't know, he'd had exciting moments. He seems like he's been injured for a while, maybe not the most consistent player ever. And then Billy Gilmore as well, but he's on loan as well. So it's just really tricky, because it sounds like Gilmore hasn't done tremendously well either, but he's clearly got a lot of potential. So that's a bit of a cop-out answer, to be honest, because I've not really said anyone. I managed to mention 3 players anyway that I would like, but aren't yours. So,
probably can't scrape more of an answer out of you. If we were doing better in the league, I would agree with that. I really would. Let's just quickly go to the comment section because loads of you are chucking your comments, and I really appreciate it. Simon's doing the niceties. He's in the comment section. I hope everyone is well. I hope you're well, Simon. Lovely to see you indeed. And we also had a bit of breaking news come in, I believe, which is apparently Everton have now actually done the deal with El Ghazi. I can't remember where the comment is, but apparently that's just in, Thomas. So what's your reaction to that if it is official?
One of the strangest signings I think we've ever made. I mean, look, he scored 10 goals last season. Obviously, he did well, but yeah, we just don't need him. Like, I'm absolutely baffled.
He's just not. Send him to us. Can you pay? Right, you pay for him. Send him to us for the rest of the season because we could deal with a player like that.
Well, yeah, he's coming in on loan, but I just don't know why. To be honest, it's just a very strange one. He's a right-footed left winger. We've got millions of them. He's just not a player that we need. We've almost got the wings not entirely sorted, and I don't think El Ghazi's going to sort it. But apparently, it's very driven by the owner, as far as we're aware. Apparently, Benitez didn't want him, so that's always a great way to enter a club, isn't it? But yeah, baffling signing.
A baffling signing and a strange one, as you've said. And speaking of strange things, Barney Wood is in the comment section with Qatar Airways as his profile picture. They've said Josh Sargent is better than DCL. Barney, I would really lay off the Lakens. I really would lay off the Lakens, because that is a shocking shout from you. Let's get to this game now, Thomas. Let's get to the crux of this conversation, right? We've had some really interesting battles over the last few seasons. How do you think this game will go? Do you see this as being quite a tense one, or do you think it's going to be the end-to-end? Do you think there'll be lots of goals?
I think there'll be chances for lots of goals, to be honest. I'm not really sure if Josh Sargent bangs them in for fun, no, didn't think he did. But look, there'll be chances definitely throughout the game. Our defence can't seem to organise anything. If you've got anyone decent at set pieces, whip one onto Grant Hanley's massive head. I mean, anything's possible really. But I think I'm not sure it'll be end to end necessarily. I just think it'll be an open game. I don't think there'll be a tremendous amount of quality shown. I'd like to think we would win. I'm sure. Well, we're going to get to the predictions, and maybe I'll make up my mind in the next few minutes, but there's going to be chances, I'd imagine, for both sides. It could go either way. I've literally got no idea, to be honest.
Mate, I think it's going to be dross. I think it's going to be one of the worst games of the season, and I must admit, I'm really not looking forward to enduring what will come of it. That's for sure. And let's talk about some better games though from over the years, because I've no doubt that this one won't be. Any memorable games that stick out for you over the years, Thomas, playing Norwich City?
The only one that massively sticks out was when he came to Goodison and scored twice, and Stuart Benny obviously got that goal. Was it his only Premier League goal before he left? That was basically the penultimate nail in Marco Silva's coffin. He was sacked, obviously, after the Leicester game, but he was basically already done at that point. Not that I ever want to see a manager sacked, but he needed to go at the time. That is the only one that massively sticks out because, I mean, you were done at that point. You were gone. And then, well, basically, it wasn't even that far into the season. But it wasn't like, but you're already showing that it didn't look like you were going to stay up. I'm not sure how many points he'd actually got at that point. Came to Goodison, obviously, you need a bit of form, no better place to arrive. And look, it was the end of Marco Silva, who is now actually doing a decent job at Fulham. So, I mean, I think he's doing quite well for himself there. But look, that's the only one that sticks out.
He's got some class players at Fulham, though, isn't he? He's got some class players. Sure. And it's interesting that you should mention that game because I remember it very well. Because we'd heroically beaten Man City the last time we were up. And then it was a bit of a false dawn for us. Then we lost loads. Then we beat Everton and we thought, we've turned the corner here. That's a massive win, a statement win, I'd call it, away from home at a big club like Everton. And the season just pittered out. Really disappointing one. Over the years, I'm sure people will say all sorts in the comment section from what they can remember coming up against Everton. I remember playing Everton for so many reasons. I remember Grant Holt's almost Zola-esque turn and finish goal against Everton at Goodison. I remember Ricky Van Wolfswinkel scoring his only goal against Everton in the game of the Premier League. I remember Kai Kamara scoring his only Premier League goal against Everton at Carrow Road. That man, Sierra Leone, friend of the channel, we absolutely love Kai Kamara. So I have actually got some happy memories. The one thing I would say, though, Thomas, which I'm still angry about to this day, goodness gracious me, did you mug us off with Stephen Naismith?
Shocking that as well, because we absolutely loved him. I mean, there was obviously a reason he left when he left, but yeah, I thought about it because I think I saw you tweet the other day where you talking about the biggest January flops, and obviously I know he didn't do well for you, but it's just shocking for me to see Naismith kind of in that category because we absolutely loved him. He was fantastic. Look, he had come to the end of his Everton career, but yeah, so I feel like apologising, but he was just so good. I've got no idea.
I don't understand it either, because on paper you'd think Premier League quality, mature, smart footballing brain, is a good finisher, scores against big clubs, scores in big games. I'm thinking, hello, this is actually a really serious signing. He scored against Liverpool on his debut. And then
fantastic.
Again, that was it. Well, yeah, great for you, but for us, that was it. It was absolutely shite apart from that. And he did pocket a big bonus from our promotion winning season. After that, when we got promoted, even though he was out on loan. But anyway, I'll not talk about Stephen Naismith because I'll start to get angry about our recruitment yet again. So let's talk about. Should we go score predictions? Let's go score predictions. Come on, let's do it. So before we do it, let's lay the seeds. Let's start to I've no doubt get negative. Head to head from over the years, Thomas. Okay, let's talk about this. So over the years, you are comfortably in front. We've won 18 games, you've won 26, and we've drawn 18 times. I suspect a lot of those have been in the recent years. So what is your head saying and what is your heart saying?
My head is very logically saying we're going to lose purely because we're just in such a horrible...
You're going to lose against us, Thomas. Surely not.
There is no team that can't beat us at the Hull. I mean, they give it a great go. And somehow you're actually better side than Hull City. But look, I mean, my head says we're not going to win. We're just going to continue this terrible football. We're going to be disorganised. My heart would fancy a 1-0 win. Just, I don't know, get it over with, move on with the rest of my weekend. I've got no idea, to be honest. But
I'm shocked. I'm genuinely shocked that you think that we might win.
I think we're probably... It's tricky to say with a couple of the sides like Burnley, not to just bring them into this for no reason, but a couple of I think we play some of the worst football in the league. We kind of rely every now and then on Damari Gray doing something magical or Townsend banging one in from miles away. And funny enough, if that doesn't happen every game, we don't win. So we're not set up. We don't set well. It's wrong to say we don't set up to win, but we don't really have a system of winning. It's kind of just relying on someone doing some individual brilliance that gets us over the line, like the Damari Gray goal against Arsenal, which was flying around Twitter. That's not a particularly sustainable plan. So it's hard to say how we win any game of football.
Yeah, well, interesting, very interesting to hear and encouraging to hear. I'm sure the Norwich fans are buzzing and delighted by those shouts, Thomas. And I am saying, my head is saying, this is going to be a turgid game of football. It's going to be woeful. And I think that you guys will win 1-0. But my heart is saying that we will manage to scrape a draw. And I must admit, in the form that we're in, as long as we put some decent shots on goal, I think that actually I would probably take some encouragement from that. Of course, it's not good enough. We need to win games. We need to win them now. But I just can't see it. So there you go. James R says Norwich 2, Everton 1. Goodness grief, we need those points. Yes, we do indeed. We've also got another shout here. Rashid's a hat-trick. Of course, Rashid's great to see him back. Didn't play the full 90. Could be the man that does the damage, but we shall see. Thomas, that is it for this TNC Opposition Preview Live. I just want to say a massive thank you to you for coming on tonight.
Well, thank you very much for having us on. Hopefully, there's a chance you might be here next year. You never know. Or we're going to have a little break before we speak again, as we have done over the past few years. But yeah, no, thank you very much for having us.
Oh, I hate how predictable we are. Oh, I really do. Thank you so much, Thomas. Really appreciate it. And do make sure, people, you go and follow Thomas on Twitter. Go and follow at Everton News Feed over there as well. And go and subscribe to the Toffee Blues on YouTube. I'll be doing a preview video over on their channel, which will be out. When will it be out, Thomas?
I'm not the man to ask, but very soon.
Soon.
Yeah.
It'll be out soon. So if you fancy more chat, go and head over to their channel. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you have enjoyed this video, thumbs up. And by the way, I've got a request. If you are enjoying the content at the moment, go and give us a review on Spotify. That is right. I didn't realize how many thousands of you are listening to us on our audio platforms at the moment. So do go and check us out. Great way of keeping up to date as you are driving or perhaps working. Not that you want to hear anything about Norwich City at the moment, but there you go. Thank you so much for watching another TNC Opposition preview. This one was live, and fingers crossed the next time I speak to you, lovely lot, will be after 3 huge, ginormous, arguably a 6-pointer against Everton. Please, on the ball, City.